All right, everybody, welcome to Turning Two with Booney. I'm Rich Rivera from the Infinity Sports Network. That is the aforementioned Bret Boone. Good day, Bret. How are you?
How you doing, Rich? Oh,
I'm
I'm just wonderful today.
okay. I'll take that as better than a kick in the teeth. Are you doing better than the Canadians after the hockey game this weekend?
Oh, considerably better.
Okay,
I think it's great.
that's what I wanted to
That's what
start with.
hockey is, isn't it, Rich? It's the only sport you go you can have a beef with someone and beat the crap out of them and just move on. You don't even get ejected. You don't get in trouble with the league. You're not out for 2 weeks. It's just part of the game. I love it. I
I wa-
love it.
I wanted to get your reaction to that and the NBA All-Star game and some other ideas that I want to run by. And then, of course, we'll talk a little baseball. Mike Trout's going to change positions. Pete Alonso resigns. We'll get into all of that. But let's start with, I think, the story that everybody's going to want to talk about this week, which is Team USA and the four-nation face-off and what happened up in Montreal between Team USA and Team Canada. In case you missed it, the Canadians, in response to politics and our new president, have been booing our national anthem for about 4 weeks now. And the Kachuk brothers, Matthew and Brady Kachuk, members of Team USA, and Bret, their dad, was also a member of Team USA back in the day. He played in the NHL, so a little bit of Boone brother relationship type of thing there. They said they had enough. Bret, in case people didn't see it, 9 seconds, 3 fights. 9 seconds, 3 fights. So, folks, and Bret, let me give you a little background and get you to react. That in hockey, you can't just turn around and haul off and smack somebody. There's etiquette to fighting, and you've got to tell the other guy, hey, you want to dance? He goes, okay, let's dance. And then you drop the gloves and you go at it. So there's no cheap shots when two guys are going to go out there and have a beef. So Matthew Kachuk, Brady Kachuk were telling him, hey, listen, as soon as this puck drops, we're going. And then the other Kachuk goes, and you're next. Puck drops. Half a second later, Matthew Kachuk drops the gloves. They square off. They fight. They say, okay, great. Fighting penalty. Go off to the box. They go for the next face-off. Boom. That gets dropped. A second later, now it's Brady Kachuk drops his gloves. They go at it. Another penalty. So now 2 are in the box. Then the first time they have a shot down towards the goal, the goaltender holds on to it. And now another player gets into it. 3 fights, 9 seconds. I wanted to get your reaction to something like that because I know in baseball we talk about it and people go, oh, so silly. You guys will fight 2 years later after something happened. But guys take this stuff seriously. These are alpha males playing, Bret.
Yeah, but that's it's boggling to me. It's like in any other sport for you to just drop that, just fight. I mean, it's like a scandal. You're out for 20-game suspension.
Right.
Whereas hockey, it's just, and it always has been, it's just a part of the game. It's like, this is legal. We're allowed to fight, like you said, as long as you follow protocol, which for me playing sports my whole, it's bizarre because, I never played organized hockey, but every other organized sport, that is so taboo to have a face-off and a fight that there's nothing okay about it, except for in hockey. That's why I love it.
That would be like fighting at the first pitch. I throw the first pitch and then I turn around and charge the mound.
Right. And there's you just have to go to the penalty box for a minute and then you're allowed to play again. That's what's bizarre. Sports at the highest level, it's okay to fight, which I'm going to say again, I think that's awesome. And I love that part of hockey. I get into the politics and all. It's such a joke. I mean, they're booing the national anthem because of whatever the fans. I mean, I don't know if that spills over to the players. And it's like,
well, obviously it did with the Kachuk brothers, but it's also going into another territory, right?
Right.
Into foreign territory or into unfriendly confines.
Right. It had to be something that was said or a slight taken towards something we didn't see behind the scenes. I mean, if I go into.
Oh, no. It was straight up. I listened to the press conference. And we'll take the politics out of this because we'll have inner city politics, right? Okay. Uncle Aaron is not very well liked because we don't do politics here. Uncle Aaron is not very well liked in Boston, right?
Yeah, but he is. I look at it almost as
Well, I mean, the Yankees and the Red Sox aren't very well liked
correct.
back in the day.
No, but
Back in the
that's
day.
right. That's a rivalry. That's we hate you, but with a smile, and we really respect you, but we love this rivalry. And it's more like they hate the other fans, but I don't know. I can't explain it. It's not a true hatred. I want bad things for you and your family. It's more of a big time rivalry. And I almost look at it going into that atmosphere, and I never had that rivalry in the teams I played with. But to go in there and get booed and people to tell you, it's almost like a, I don't know, badge of honor. I think it's pretty cool. It's almost flattering, if that makes sense. Now, cover the press conference with me, and I'll give you my take on that. What you saw in the press conference.
So the prior game when they booed the national anthem,
Right.
it was they asked the Kachuk brothers, "What'd you think of that?" And one of them looked and goes, "Didn't like it at all." And then he just shut his mouth. Didn't say anything else. Didn't give him any bulletin board material. So for the Canadian team players, they didn't know this was coming. The Kachuk brothers and some others had a text chain going on all day long, and they said they were talking about what's going to happen to the game and who's going to step up. Coaches didn't know. This was just the players took it upon themselves to throw down when they got an opportunity, and that's what the Kachuk brothers did. Afterwards, they said, "What did you think?" "Yeah, we had a text chain going on. We knew what we were going to do. We wanted to start this game in the right way, and we were going to make sure that we took the fight to them."
That blows me away too. It's like, imagine in baseball admitting that. We had a text chain going the night before. I said, square him up in the neck first time you get a chance, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
If you admitted that and said that on camera in Major League Baseball, you'd be out to the All-Star break.
Right.
Not now, if you deny it, you're still going to get a fine and a penalty, and you're going to have to miss X amount of games. But now, if you don't deny it and you admit that you were plotting behind the scenes, that's what makes this extraordinary to me. Taking it back to my time too, in the politics side of it, it's like, and I've told you this, I've shared this with you before, Rich. In my day, I can honestly say, in a clubhouse, in a big league clubhouse with my teammates, never one time was politics ever an issue. It wasn't talked about. We didn't deal with it. When we go to Montreal or we'd go to Toronto, we might get booed as players.
Right.
But our anthem was never booed. So yeah, I've never been in that type of position and the type of feeling you have, and that goes both ways. I mean, if the Canadian team was in the United States and the Canadian anthem was played and it was booed, I don't think that would be a very good thing, and a very good look for the crowd in that particular city. So the fact that it spilled over and went into the players, and then the players took it personal, there had to be something. What I'm saying is they had to boo the anthem, and then the Canadian players had to have a dig at the American players to get that controversy going. That's my guess, because I've never taken out somebody booing me. I didn't take that was the other players on the other team's personal dig. That's the crowd. That's the people that bought a ticket to come here tonight. They can do whatever they want. Had nothing to do with the team I was playing. But obviously this spilled over because of the reaction. It spilled over, and maybe something was said on, just as a skating by, like, yeah, something about the United States. And obviously they had a problem with that, and they took it out on the ice. I still think it's great because I just love watching hockey fights.
How much would you love to be that guy, Bret Boone, and you get to stand there and stand up for the United States of America?
Yeah, I mean, but it's still funny to me. It's like the crowd's booing you. The players aren't booing you, but you're going to fight the players.
Well, the two teams hadn't played each other in 10 years.
Right.
And internationally, I said this on the radio today, that it would be like if we had the World Baseball Classic and Canada came and beat the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. That's how big it is for Team USA to beat Canada in Montreal.
Right. The thing about it is, though, yeah, and I played in Montreal for years.
Right.
Now, that's different than playing in Toronto. My AAA was in Calgary, Canada. And the reputation of Canadians is they're the nicest people in the world. Nicest fans in the world. I had nothing in Toronto or Calgary, especially because I spent a full year in Calgary. Nothing but great rapport with the people. Like, I used to tease and say, if you hit a Canadian in the crosswalk with your car, they would apologize to you.
Right.
That was my joke when I was in Calgary. That's how nice they were. So the fact that they were booing the anthem, I've never been in any situation where that was even a possibility. But fast forward 20 some years, it's a different world right now, especially politically, obviously.
Well,
And
everybody acts like
things are
it's
different.
Twitter. Everybody acts like
Right.
Twitter, where I can just say whatever I want and it's anonymous, but it's really not. It started in Ottawa, Ottawa Senators game, which is the capital, the national capital of Canada. And then it's kind of spread through, and it's just been building and building and building. And Team USA said, "We're not going to put up with it anymore." Listen, how proud would you be if you're Keith Tkachuk and by the way, he squared off. He dropped the gloves against Canada. I think it was 27 years ago when he played for Team USA. He squared off to set the tone because Canada's a much bigger hockey country than the United States. He did it, and his two boys did it.
Yeah, I'm just glad at the end of the day, it's just kind of, all that went on and all the drama went on. And it was just kind of, that old saying it's just kind of scoreboard at the end of the day, scoreboard. And it's 3-1. And
USA won. So they'll play in the finals in Boston on Thursday. And cross your fingers that it's a rematch of USA Canada for the championship.
That'll be pay-per-view. Pay-per-view.
Oh, I'm going to dress up like Uncle Sam to watch that game.
Yeah.
Hostel is the most inhospitable place you've ever played or seen or experienced. See, you never played on a team that anybody hated, did you? The Braves, maybe?
Yeah, but I didn't. Here's what I used to say, and Mike Cameron, who we've had on the show a few times.
We love Cammy. Cammy listens. What's up, Cammy?
I used to tell him he'd always give me stories about what's going on and what the crowds, and they're so rude and obnoxious. And I thought about it one day. My whole career, I played in between the dugouts. And when you think about that, how much do those tickets cost?
Oh, those are the pricey seats.
Right. And where do I hear the most fan reaction when I'm playing? Probably on deck. On deck.
Right.
So on deck, where I could reach out and
touch somebody,
shake a fan's hand. How expensive are those tickets?
Yeah, so you're with the bougie people.
You're dealing with a different clientele when you play the infield. Now you go to the outfield, you go to Wrigley Field on a Monday afternoon where the tickets are $8,
right?
And beer's $4, and it's college kids. You're gonna have a different experience as a player. And Cammy used to tell me all the time, and I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't hear that. He's like, yeah, well, go play the outfield. I said, well, at least that's why I was good enough to play the infield. I didn't have to play the outfield. That was my comeback to him.
Cammy, that is brutal.
But Hostel. I loved Hostel. As long as you didn't go over the top. And
this obviously was over the top.
Right. I don't know that I ever really experienced that where I knew we were going to a certain city and I knew it was going to be over the top. Maybe Oakland a little bit at the Coliseum.
Okay.
Where it seemed like people might take it a little farther, and not knowing me, never meeting me, but having these deep rooted hateful feelings, which I couldn't really understand. It's like, it's kind of bizarre. This is sports. This is entertainment. I understand.
No. I'm an
opponent. You can't stand me. I get it. And that's great. The greatest was for me was going to New York. It wasn't hostile, but it was like they wanted to beat you so bad, but they appreciated good play. They appreciated when you had a big game and kicked their butt. They would smile and kind of almost they would recognize it. Where the Oakland's at times, because back then the Coliseum, it's not like it was a full house, but you'd be there and you'd see some people and some things they'd say to you. You're used to this, the typical, you stink, nice swing. We're going to kick your ass today. That's a typical stuff you'd hear on deck, which is no big deal. But then there was a level where guys would say something and it's like, is he kidding? Is he that serious about it? Like you're almost scared that he's going to do something. You got a shank in your pocket, you know?
Yes, and I'm coming after you, Boone.
I would say Oakland a little bit, not much. And then maybe I would say South Side, Chicago. The White Sox, not the Cubs,
right.
the White Sox. Those are the two most hostile places I've been. I never felt like scared personally, but I felt like fans sometimes took it a little beyond cheering for their team and giving you a hard time, if that makes sense.
Crazy bedlam, passionate, wild, over the top. Back in the day, Philly's like that. Philly could be like that.
Yeah.
Eagle fans could be. Well, Eagle fans are definitely like that.
Football fans are different than baseball fans. It's almost like at the Oakland Coliseum, I felt like it was Raiders fans, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No, Philly fans during the playoffs, World Series could be just like Raider fans.
Right. Football fans are
I've
different.
Seen it.
They're different.
I was at the World Series 2008. I remember our CFO's father was an older gentleman, like in his 70s, was in the bathroom and people were throwing things at him in Philly. Little old man wearing a jacket and wasn't red, so people were throwing things at him. And I remember having to go try to look to rescue him because the fans were so crazy over the top.
The thing about this is, Rich, and it kind of catches me off guard, and I don't know if I'm the right guy to even ask a question. I really haven't been to too many, as an adult, I haven't been to too many sporting events in person.
Right. Sitting in the stands with the people.
So I've never witnessed, I've been to a few, but I've never gone and sat in a regular seat.
What would you do?
It's not the norm. No, I have. I've sat in a regular seat, but it's like I don't have enough experience of going to games at different venues, sitting in the crowd, having a hot dog from the guy walking up and down the aisle, and really seeing what goes on. So I can compare football to baseball. All I can compare it to is what I see on TV, what I see at a football game, at a Raiders game. I'll tell you, you're starting to see it a lot when the Padres play the LA Dodgers.
Dodgers, sure.
The
Absolutely.
Fights they have. But I've never experienced that as a fan, getting to see how rowdy and how serious they get. My experience is solely when I was a little kid. I used to go all the time, but I don't know you don't know what's going on when you're 8, hanging out with your mom in the family section.
Well, you were hanging out with the Philly Fanatics.
So my only experience is as a player, what I hear from the field's perspective. So I don't think I'm the best one to really give an opinion on what it's really like at crunch time and just in the bowels of a stadium in certain cities, because I've never really experienced it.
So I think today fans are rowdier, but they fight with each other more than they used to. I mean, you could go on any Monday after an NFL game and you'll find TikTok videos, you'll find Instagram stories, X posts of fans of the same team fighting with each other just because people act like idiots.
And maybe too, because of social media, because of TikTok, because of
you
get videos on everything. Maybe this was going on 20, 30 years ago.
We just didn't see it.
We didn't see it because everybody didn't have a camera with them. Anyway.
Now I will tell you the rowdy, passionate, I hate your guts and I want your dog to suffer type of hatred towards another team from one fan base, one group of fans towards another team. Yankees, Red Sox used to be back that way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
When Aaron hit that home run to break the Red Sox heart, they despised him for the longest time.
I remember because I was in the booth for that series, and I remember we'd leave Fenway, and we'd be going out a back door. It was at the time it was Buck and Tim McCarver. And I remember Timmy used to tell me, he goes, "Man, the fans really hate me here." And I'd leave, and there were people yelling at Tim McCarver. I mean, like for real yelling.
Like I'm going, if they could get through to get to him.
Right. And it's like, it's kind of bizarre to me that fans take it that literally. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I sit in the couch and I yell sometimes at the TV at a stupid comment that was made or something. But that's just me being in my living room, sitting on my couch, being a fan. Whereas put that in real life, I really don't have a vendetta against the guy I'm
The
yelling
closest
at. It's bizarre to me.
the closest we get to is we had Nick Turturro on. Could you imagine 5,000 Nick Turturros all sitting out there in the bleachers yelling at Cammy?
Yeah, it's mind blowing.
I guess the ones I would say Fenway could get crazy at the height of that Yankee Red Sox. Both of them haven't been good at the same time, so it's kind of waned a little bit. You talked about Dodger fans used to go to Petco Park and take over San Diego. Not so much anymore. Giants and Dodgers back in the
Giants
day,
and Dodgers, right?
Giants Dodgers back in the day, and I know to this day, I see someone walking up to me and they have I saw it in the store yesterday. I was in the store yesterday, and I looked at this guy and made eye contact. He kind of gave me a nod, and I noticed he was wearing a Dodger hat. I just kind of shook my head at him and walked by and go, Dodgers suck. Kept going, just being a jerk, because when I see someone wearing Dodger blue, I automatically hate them. They could be the person that's going to give me a kidney one day, and I might not take it because I hate the Dodgers that much.
Well, that's the difference between me and you.
Right,
you're a fan, and I could give a rip.
Okay, so let me ask you this:
Yeah,
if I could take Bret Boone and I could dress him up and face paint him and put him in gear head to toe, he paints his face. He's going to sit out there and he's going to experience a game like a real fan and just be that maniac hanging over the side of the rail, screaming at the other team. Where would you want to go? What would you want to experience?
I've got to go to Green Bay, maybe Green Bay.
Be Green Bay and have a player jump into your lap in the Lambeau Leap.
They seem crazy. I know they haven't won any Super Bowl championships lately, but Cleveland seems to be a pretty crazy.
You'd like to be in the dog pound?
Yeah. Well, we say we'd like to be. I don't know if we'd like to be. I don't want to get. But
if you wanted
to, for the experience,
right?
I think being at a Raider game,
just Jeff seeing Bret Boone just painted with a silver and black face. You dress like a pirate standing out there yelling and screaming.
Yeah, maybe back in the 80s, I'd like to. 80s and the late 70s, go to Boston and be at a Celtics-Laker game or a Celtics-Sixer game.
Bret behind the basket waving his arms.
I think that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
That would.
I'm really pulling out all the stops back, and you can go back to my heyday. Any of those 70s, Reds, Pirates, Phillies, any of those rivalries, Philly, LA, any of those games, I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
The golden age of baseball for me. Yeah.
I'd love to see Bret sitting there in the dog pound wearing a rubber dog mask.
But for me, for an enjoyment stand, I mean, all these are good examples just to get the experience, what it's like, because those are kind of infamous places. But for me personally, where I think I'd go and enjoy it the most would be the Dr. J, Mo Cheeks, Andrew Toney.
Andrew Toney, okay.
Jones, who was the sixth man, Bobby Jones, who was the sixth man, Moses Malone versus LA and Magic and Kareem and that group.
Yeah.
For me, just to be able to go to any event in those days, that would be my favorite event to go to as a fan, just as a fan to experience it. Not because I want to know what it's like. No, that would be enjoyable to me.
Although I would like to see you dressed up head to toe and be the 12th man in Seattle at a Seahawks game, because that place is loud.
Yeah, it is loud. I've been to
I don't think they paint themselves, so you just have to wear Seahawks gear. Yeah. You can do
Seattle fans don't paint themselves. They're drinking lattes.
There you go. All-Star game yesterday, NBA.
Didn't watch. Saw the dunk contest, which is bizarre to me that this McClung kid he's winning. Able to participate every year.
Right.
That would be like, hey, our best AAA home run hitter is going to come up and be in the home run derby, and we're going to celebrate. It's kind of bizarre that if you're actually not in the NBA, that you're allowed to be in the NBA dunk contest. That's crazy to me. That being said, I watched his dunks, pretty impressive. Right. I'm kind of over the dunk contest. I think it's nothing negative towards the NBA. It's just I've seen it. How many dunks can you possibly do? The dunks these guys do now are absolutely outrageous. But it's like every year I got to think of something. So it's almost like an art form, and it's like let's see how kooky what we can think up.
Right.
And the dunks are ridiculous. They get more ridiculous every year. But it's still bizarre to me that a guy like McClung, how is he eligible?
He plays. He plays in the G League.
Well, okay, I got a guy in Double-A. He really is good at batting practice. Let's get him in the home run derby. It wouldn't happen. So that's kind of it's in that. I'll tell you what, he didn't disappoint.
No.
So maybe it was good. At the end of the day, what's it about? It's about eyeballs and it's about people talking about it. And he
entertainment.
Definitely got that. So I don't want to sit here and have anything negative towards McClung. It's like, no, he's asked to do it. If you're in his situation, of course you do it. But it's just kind of weird to me that a guy that's not in the NBA is a part of NBA weekend. It's it's like the Savannah Bananas playing at the All-Star game. kind of be taboo in baseball. Anyway,
Mac's uncle played in the big leagues.
Who?
Mac McClung. The kid who won the slam dunk contest. His uncle played in the big leagues. Mm-hmm. Seth McClung was a relief pitcher. Played for the Pirates. I was around him in Tampa Bay. But I wanted to ask you this question because they threw it out on the radio this weekend. Is it time for us to just say goodbye to all these All-Star games? I mean, the NBA All-Star game had to have, we're not even going to play anything that resembles a normal game. We're going to play first one to 40. I watched it for about 2 seconds and realized nobody was playing defense and they were jogging. And I went back to watch NASCAR. You look at the Pro Bowl, that's a flag football game now. At least hockey's giving us something where people want to show up and fight and play.
Right.
In the Major League Baseball All-Star game, please put them in their real jerseys. The only All-Star game that's worth anything is baseball. The rest of them, I think, is just time for them to go away.
Yeah, baseball is, and it's not like it used to be. But my take on that is as much as I love the old school style of baseball, I still I'm smart enough to know that it's 2025 and there's things that are more important than the All-Star game and what happens there. As far as from an all-out, at any cost, win the game. And even if it means putting yourself into some vulnerable situations. I don't agree with that. So I agree with you. I think the baseball is the best of the three because the NBA is just who can do the most outrageous, stupid pass and on an alley. It's ridiculous. I don't watch it. Football.
It's a flag football game. It's not even a real football game anymore.
But I completely understand with the level of physicality that comes with the NFL. It's like, no, this is a practice game. I'm not going to get hurt in this type of game. So I completely understand that. So I understand why they went to the flag football. I'm not a big fan of watching it. Maybe somebody is. Baseball is still the most relevant. But over the and I've had a problem with this my whole life. It's the guys that get picked for the All-Star team that, I'm a little sore. I'm not going to go to the game. I don't get it. And I don't care how many All-Star games you've gone to. When you get picked for an All-Star game, I've just never been able to put my mind there. Like, why don't you just appreciate this beyond appreciation? We don't get to do this very long. And for me, so every award I ever won, I really cherished it because I thought, this doesn't happen every day. This isn't going to be my life for the rest of my life. So that kind of blows me away. The nonchalant, another All-Star game.
Oh.
But I think for the most part, players in the baseball on the baseball field take it serious. None of us want to embarrass ourselves. We always want to do well in an All-Star game, or and we've covered this a lot. In an All-Star game, in a wiffle ball game in my backyard, in a spring training game, I want to go 4 for 4. Absolutely. And I'd be lying to you if I said in spring when I went 0 for 4 that it was okay. No, I was able to compartmentalize it and go, yes, it's not important in the big picture. What's important is getting ready. But but I'm telling you, every spring training game I ever went to, every at bat in spring training on a B field where nobody was watching, it was important to me to get a hit. And when I didn't, I wasn't going to cry over it, but I was like, oh, something
It
about it.
ate
So
at
you
you, right?
always, yeah, all-star games. This doesn't count on my resume, but I still want to get a hit. I still want to do well. I still want to represent my team and do good. I still want to win. Is it the worst thing ever if we lose? No. It's tougher when I lose a regular season game than an all-star game, but that doesn't mean I don't care. Now that's how I felt. I don't know that everybody feels that way, but I think for the most part, guys want to get there, put on a good performance, do well, and not get hurt and get back to your team for the second half of the year.
Well, and I'll go back to what you were saying about, oh, I've got foot discomfort, LeBron James. He won't play in the All-Star game, but the Kachuk brothers in a meaningless exhibition
Well,
are squaring off fighting, right?
Hockey guys are different, man. They're
Right.
different animals. They're my favorite athletes. They're the most unaffected by fame and fortune out of any of the major sports. That's just been my
Why is that?
recollection. I don't know. I've tried to figure it out. It's like basketball. When an NBA player walks into a room, you can kind of tell they're an NBA player from the size. Football, same thing. If you're a lineman, you have a way about you. Baseball players are kind of incognito. I mean, they're kind of just look like normal athletes.
Baseball players.
Hockey players, the same. And the difference is with hockey is I've tried to figure this out. Is why are they unaffected? Well, they make less money than the other four sports.
Okay.
They're kind of in a rough and tumble environment. Like you talk about fighting. They're that guy you go to the bar and have a beer with, and that's what a hockey player's mentality is. That's why I've loved them. But I thought about why, unless you're like a Wayne Gretzky or a Brett Hull. I know I'm talking about guys from my generation. Messier.
Mm-hmm.
People recognize those faces, but the average hockey player, you've got a mask on and a helmet on at all times. And your body's completely covered in pads, so we really don't know what your body looks like. So when you step out into street clothes, people don't know who you are.
Right.
So that makes you unaffected and the coolest athletes because you don't have any of that Hollywood, don't you know who I am type of attitude, even if it's something in the back of your mind that you don't think that way, but I don't know. It's hard for me to explain.
Let me throw something at you then.
Yeah.
How about the fact that you're ultimately accountable to everybody? So in basketball, you're not going to get punched. You're not going to get hit. Nobody's going to physically hold you accountable. Football, I'm going to hit you, but it's controlled mayhem and violence. In hockey, you get too big for your britches. You take a cheap shot. It is condoned fighting, and we will drop the gloves. So how arrogant can I be knowing that if I get too big for my britches, somebody's going to punch me in the face?
I think that's what we're getting at. They are their group, hockey players versus every other sport, are the most humble athletes in the world.
Baseball, you are a little bit more accountable than the other sports because if Bret Boone makes somebody mad, I'm going to stick one in your ear hole. Right.
That's I'd say baseball's number 2.
Yeah.
And then it gets more Hollywood, I think, as you go to the other sports.
Is Conan the Barbarian.
Well, I'll give you an example. Okay. Recently, what do we have at the Super Bowl? Now it's like the red carpet going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, sure.
We got fit checks walking in.
Right.
Baseball's gone to that. They got a red carpet at the All-Star game.
It's stupid.
Do you think hockey would ever do that? Hockey, those guys are walking in their jeans and their work boots. And I think
they're wearing Carhartt because they're actually doing Carhartt stuff, right?
I think that's what is endearing about hockey players. And that's why I think, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a big, huge hockey fan. No, I don't watch the NHL consistently. But as far as my favorite athletes that I've met over time,
right,
from the other sports, hockey players are the most humble, down-to-earth group of athletes from another sport that I've ever met.
So there is that quote from Conan the Barbarian,
the
book. Jack Carr has it in his book. We've had Jack Carr on the podcast on the podcast before. The most civilized men act the most uncivilized because they don't have to worry about somebody cracking their head open with a skull.
Right.
Meaning that I can, if I'm not held accountable, I can be the biggest jerk I want. But if you know that if I say something to you, Brett, and you don't like it, you're going to crack me over the head. You're going to crack my skull open.
Well, and
I'm going to be a little bit more civilized.
Right. And that goes back to what you're talking about, social media and Twitter. That's the problem with Twitter. There's no repercussions for anything you say online. Because
Right.
most of those people that are that will get outrageous are hiding behind, you know, there's an emoji for their picture. So
Right.
Anyway.
Let's talk a little baseball. Where do you want to start? You want to start with Pete Alonso, or do you want to go to
well,
Mike
you got
and Bregman. So
Bregman just signed with the Red
go
Sox,
rapid fire those three.
Didn't surprise me. Okay, who do you want to go with first?
We'll start with Bregman.
Bregman, that doesn't surprise me. I thought his best fit was going back to Houston, where he's had a ton of success. Not only him, but that group of guys that he's kind of grown up with. He's been a Houston guy since the draft. In today's day and age, I think it's very rare to be able to spend your entire career with one team, and he's definitely a big part of that franchise and a face of the franchise. I think there's a lot of equity in staying with one team your entire career, especially when you've had nothing but success and you have an organization that's willing to go after it and win on a yearly basis. So I was very surprised he didn't go back to Houston. I don't know the backstory. I don't know why he didn't. It was interesting. He signed a 3-year, $120 million deal. That was a lot more than I thought. A lot of it's deferred. It's not just what it sounds like on its surface, $40 million a year. No, a lot of it's deferred. But that was a pretty big number for an Alex Bregman, and really good player, Alex Bregman. But he's making as much as Aaron Judge. Are we serious? Anyway, that's free agency. That's the market. That being said, I think of all the places he could have gone for his skill set, and I've said this before, Fenway Park sets up great for Alex Bregman. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a big year, an all-star caliber year. And I think one thing that Alex Bregman's done over his career, good years, bad years, decent years for him, he's always showed up in the postseason, had big postseason at-bats. Kind of like Juan Soto did a year ago. I think that's what stood out about Juan was not that he had an unbelievable MVP caliber year. You know, if it weren't for his teammate, Aaron Judge, he would have won the MVP last year.
Right.
But the postseason he dominated the batter's box in the postseason. More so, and it stood out heads and tails above everybody else in the postseason for me. I think Alex Bregman consistently over his career, and it seems like with that Houston ball club, he goes to the postseason every single year. He always kind of shines in the postseason, and that's when he has his best at bats. I think that was a big selling point, and I think that's why he had a lot of people vying for his services. I think signing with the Red Sox was really smart from an offensive perspective. Now we get into their star, Devers, and he's their real superstar on that Red Sox team. He's the third baseman. Alex Bregman's the third baseman. They're both very good. I think it makes most sense for Alex to move over to second base, especially in today's game, 2025. 25 years ago, no, you can't just do that. Third baseman just can't go play second base. Now that you can't take out the second baseman, Bregman's going to be able to make that transition, I think, a lot easier than Devers would. Mm-hmm. And there's probably something that's gone on behind the scenes. There's probably something already in place where, hey, Devers going to play third, Bregman's going to play second, and you go from there. Other than the position change, and obviously Bregman didn't have a problem with it. He signed there, said, hey, I'll go play second if it means second. So other than that, the position change, I think this is a really good pickup. Money aside, doesn't matter. Okay, $40 million, that's a little heavy for an Alex Bregman for me as an owner, but who cares? I'm not paying the tab. And if money doesn't matter and he fits under their fiscal plan, I'd love to have Alex Bregman, especially in Boston. Man, pull hitter, pull power. That's where his power is to pull. He is going to wear out. He has a potential to wear out and have a big-time year for them. I thought it was a great sign.
Have they gotten closer?
They're good. They got this Crochet kid that came over from the Chicago White Sox.
Right.
I'll tell you what, they've made a lot of upgrade. I think they're sneaky good. The Boston Red Sox, they're getting good, closer to
Baltimore,
the Yankees.
Look out.
Yeah, and the Yankees.
Yankees.
Boston's for real. Boston's
that's
for real.
What I was going to ask you. Okay, let's
move. I like them. Alonso.
Okay, let's move on. Alonso,
same. He was kind of the Bregman for me. The only difference with Alonso, and I've said this before, Alonso's offense, his bat travels. What I mean by that is it doesn't matter where he signed. I think if he has an Alonso type year, he's going to hit 40 home runs in any ballpark, with the exception of probably San Francisco. But so that the ballpark wasn't that important for Alonso. He was another guy, though, like an Alex Bregman. Pete Alonso's big. People really like him in New York. He's been a Met for life. It didn't make sense to me for him to leave, especially if Cohen was willing to sign Soto and then go out and sign Alonso as well. I don't understand why you'd want to leave the Big Apple when you're big, you're popular, you've had success there. A chance to play with one team your entire career. I don't understand. Like I said, I think there's a lot of equity to staying with one team. Pete signed. He signed for less than there was reported on the table months ago. But he's got an opt-out, just like Bregman. They all have opt-outs. That's a new thing these days. You got an opt-out. It seems like every year. If you want to test the market, you can go out and do it, which is really positive for the player and a good deal for the player. I think that was great for the Mets. I think the Mets really offensively have improved huge. That being said, I still don't think the Mets have enough pitching. For me, that's my opinion. I think the Mets are still short in the starting rotation compared to the other championship caliber teams I see out there and what they've done this offseason.
All right, clown question, final one. Mike Trout is going to move over to right field to try to stave off injuries. Rudimentary baseball 101.
Right.
What is he doing?
Has to do it. I mean, there comes a point in everybody's career. That's why you don't see 35, 36, 37-year-old center fielders. That wear and tear on your body, those extra miles. That's why you don't see 37-year-old shortstops for the most part. Mm-hmm. Even second baseman. You have so much wear and tear because we're cutting and jiving and moving. Center field, you're covering so much ground. You have a lot more miles on your body than you do as a left fielder or for a right fielder. I think it's prudent. I think it's smart. The one thing that Trout hasn't been able to avoid in most recent years is injury. Getting him out of center field, it lowers that risk right away, and it takes a little wear and tear and a little bit of work off those legs because, the whole thing for him is staying healthy. I mean, he's still an MVP caliber player, but he can't stay healthy. So right field, I think that's a step in the right direction.
All right, that's going to do it for the podcast for today. Bret Boone, thank you very much. Tell your mom we didn't talk about hair. I don't have any hair products, so that's why the lettuce doesn't look very good today.
I will. I'm sure she's waiting for me in that message.
Okay, good. Tell her that. All right, that's it for the Boone podcast. Who do we have coming up on the show?
We've got Bruce Bochy will be next.
We're
going to get a little. That's speaking of a team that's upgraded. Texas Rangers, sneaky good, with DeGrom always being the guy and Eovaldi signing back. I think they're going to be back more of that team from 2023 that won the World Series than they were a year ago. So we got Boch, and then a guy I've been wanting to have on a long time. We got Roger Clemens coming up. He should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. First time we've had the Rocket on the podcast.
First time, and I'm gonna discuss with him my first at bat with the Rocket. I got a base hit, and the second at bat I got hit in the head. I want to go over that.
Stick it right in your ear hole. All right, that's going to do it for the Boone podcast. We'll catch you next time, everybody.